thrilled, Miss Pengrave.
The Raven's heir. Soon as one of them's caught, another one takes his place. Hey, Harold, have you read this? Harold? 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 You hear me? This is no time for fun and games.
Calm down. I'm a copper. We're on the same side.
A copper? What are you doing here? And where's Harold?
Harold? Well, there's another guard back there unconscious. That's probably him. The Eye of the Sphinx. Where is it?
It's there.
Oh, good. Then he hasn't got it yet.
You mean the Raven's heir?
Shh! Turn it off. He's gonna steal the eye.
But how do you know?
Doesn't matter. All that matters is that we catch him. Do you understand?
Yeah, but...
Do you understand? You and me, mate. We'll be heroes. All right, now, we just have to...
What?
Halt! Stop! You're under arrest!
Hands up!
I don't have time to play. I'm on duty.
You're funny, but you don't look like a real cop. You don't even have a revolver.
What's your name, boy?
My name is Matthew Miller.
And where are you from, Matthew Miller?
From Dillsburg, Pennsylvania. But my mom and I live in England now. She's taking care of some rich old lady. We're on our way to Venice at the moment. We're taking a cruise on a big ship.
Impressive. You've already seen half the world. I've spent my entire life in Switzerland.
Must be really boring.
And what's with the gun? What do you need it for?
It's the Raven. He was gunned down, so now I need a pistol.
Dead birds don't need guns. Nor do live ones.
You don't know who the Raven is, do you? He's the greatest burglar ever. He stole paintings from the Louvre. And those priceless eggs with gold and diamonds and stuff. And Bobby Dobbs says he replaced the crown jewels with rhinestones.
I know who the Raven was, although I don't quite buy that bit about the crown jewels. You do know these days there are thieves far more dangerous than your old Raven. 2 days ago, a precious ruby was stolen from the British Museum. There was an explosion. A guard was severely injured.
Really?
Yeah. And you know what the papers say?
You talk too much, Constable.
Zellner, monsieur. Anton Jakob Zellner.
Or did he pull a gun on you?
No, monsieur.
Get a move on.
Inspector Legrand, it's a great honor to work with a celebrity like you.
We appreciate the support of the Swiss police, but it'd be better if you'd remain seated and keep an eye on things.
But, monsieur, surely I can be of assistance, somehow. I saw a safe being loaded.
We have everything under control. If you'll excuse me, I'll be in the first freight car at the back of the train for the rest of the trip.
I'm not here to enjoy the beautiful scenery. I am a good observer, and I have finally honed powers of deduction.
Thanks to that?
I watched the people on the platform in Zurich. I know, for example, that that man over there is a violinist.
That would be more impressive if there weren't a violin case next to him.
And I believe that the gentleman in the next carriage is a German doctor on his way to Italy to take up a new position.
And what gives you that idea?
There's the rod of Asclepius engraved on his cufflink. And he's carrying a German-Italian dictionary.
Maybe he's just taking a holiday in Italy, following in Goethe's footsteps.
Too much luggage. And no, he's not retiring to Italy either. The suitcases are too shabby for me to believe that he can afford to retire in his late 50s.
All right then, Constable...
Zellner.
Constable Zellner. If you're such a clever fellow, what am I doing on this train?
I think you're guarding something.
Oh, really? And what might it be?
I really couldn't say. But it must be very important.
Why is that?
Because you are very important. They wouldn't have assigned the case to you if it were just a trifle.
Let's assume that we really are transporting something very important on this train. And let's assume that it really is my job to see that it arrives safely. Then why isn't the train crawling with police?
There are enough police on this train as it is. If there were more, they'd only get in each other's way.
I can assure you that I'd pack every seat in every carriage of this train with police, if it were a matter of deterrence.
You're saying you don't want to scare off potential thieves? Ah, you're laying a trap.
That would explain why it's just me, and not the army, n'est-ce pas? All the same, I can't comment on your speculation. Well, that is impressive, I admit. But the fewer people involved, the better. We'll get along fine without you.
You won't.
Won't? Pardonnez-moi.
I can help. And I will help. You're in my country. And I've been ordered to assist you. And that's exactly what I'll do. Whether you like it or not.
Clever and stubborn. Your commitment speaks volumes, Zellner. But this is my show, and I don't need you. Bon voyage.
But how do you know? Oh, hello.
You cheated.
I did what?
I saw you talking to the German doctor on the platform. He told you everything himself, And you were just pretending to put two and two together.
And what of it? Do you know who that is? That's Inspector Nicholas Legrand. You have to impress him if you want to work with him.
I'm going to tell on you.
You'd really tell on me? To the very policeman who shot your dear Raven?
Whoa! It was him?
Mm-hmm. Hunted and killed Europe's most famous burglar. That's how he got his start.
I won't tell him a thing.
I wouldn't either. All right, Matthew. I have to do my work now.
Everyone calls me Matt. Well, except for my mom. She calls me Maddie, as if I were a little kid.
Whether Legrand wants my help or not, I'll keep my eyes open. Maybe I can change his mind. This morning, I thought I wouldn't be hungry because of all the excitement. Thankfully, I bought a sandwich with me anyway. The apple core in the sandwich paper. That way I can carry it without making a mess of my trouser pocket. Still, I'd prefer not to have to carry them all day. The napkin came with the croissant I bought at the train station. A guilty pleasure. I don't need that either. Every table has its own wastebasket. Practical. No need to ever leave your seat. Every table has its own wastebasket. Practical. No need to ever leave your seat. All right. The violinist is a good-looking fellow, and he's traveling through the most beautiful mountain landscape in the world. But one can only hope that his violin is better tuned than he. Hello, sir.
Hello.
If I'm not mistaken, you're a violinist.
That's true.
A wonderful instrument. The violin music touches the soul.
That's why I learned to play it.
Do you play in an orchestra?
No, orchestras aren't really part of my world.
A solo violinist. The best soloists travel a great deal and make a pile of money, or so they say.
In that case, I'm probably not one of the best.
Are you traveling to Istanbul non-stop?
No. I'll transfer in Venice to a ship. I'm on my way to Cairo.
Cairo?
I'm performing at the reception in the Egyptian Museum there.
I'm sure your recital will be a great success. But tell me, did you notice anything unusual on the train?
Anything unusual?
Persons acting suspiciously, for instance.
For heaven's sake, is there cause for concern?
Everything is in order, sir. We Swiss are just very cautious people.
I understand. No, I didn't notice anything.
Have a good trip.
Thank you.
The violinist is a good-looking fellow, and he's traveling through the most beautiful mountain landscape in the world. But one can only hope that his violin is better tuned than he.
Very kind of you. Thanks. Oh, pardon me.
No problem. The uniform is waterproof. Mr.
Lucian. Professor Edgar Lucian.
Oh, a professor. Are you a scientist? Do you teach at the Sorbonne?
No, I work at the British Museum in London.
You don't say. So, you were, shall we say, an eyewitness to the burglary 2 days ago?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Oh, no?
There was a lot of commotion, but I didn't really pay much attention to it.
There was a break-in in your museum, and it didn't concern you?
Well, let's just say that nothing that's happened in the last 2,000 years concerns me.
Whatever you say. The famous Inspector Legrand is on this train. I imagine you know him.
No, should I?
You don't know him? And you also don't know what he's doing here?
No. Why should I?
Just a thought. You're a representative of the British Museum. There's a guarded safe on the train.
I'm sorry. I don't know what you're trying to imply. And now, please excuse me.
May I ask where you are going?
Of course. To Venice. I'm going to meet some colleagues there.
Oh, Venice. A beautiful city, so I'm told.
Indeed. But I really have to take my leave now.
Just one more thing. Did you notice anything unusual on the train?
Here? On the train? No. I can't say that I have. Although I did spend most of the time in my compartment.
I don't want to take up any more of your valuable time, but you do understand, don't you, that what concerns me is the present, and especially the robbery at the museum.
Yeah, of course, of course. It's just, I'm in rather a hurry.
You'll get in touch if you notice anything unusual, won't you, Professor?
Of course, Constable. What's this?
What's the matter, sir?
The door. I can't open it.
Ah, we'll sort it out somehow. The compartment is locked.
But I didn't lock it. I don't even have a key. I asked the steward. He was going to bring me one, but he never came back.
Someone locked it.
Find the steward. He needs to bring me the key immediately.
Calm down, Professor. I'll see what I can do.
You don't understand. I have to get back in my compartment.
All right, just wait here. You can easily lock the compartment door from inside by turning a little knob.
But I didn't lock it.
Professor, if you had locked the door from in there, you wouldn't be out here.
That's true.
Perhaps a thoughtful conductor noticed that Professor Lucien wasn't in his compartment and locked it. He doesn't make a very balanced impression, and he, of all people, isn't bothered by a robbery in his own museum. The little label on the door reads Baroness von Trebitz. blue blood on the Orient Express.
Yes, what is it?
Whoever that is, James, ask them whether they found my purse and then closed the door. The noise on this train is driving me crazy.
You're missing a purse. Was it stolen?
At the very least, I cannot find it, sir.
It was stolen.
When was the last time the Baroness saw her purse?
What?
In Zurich, on the platform, sir.
I just asked where you last saw your purse.
In Zurich on the platform. James, tell him that I still had it when I got out to stretch my legs.
The Baroness says...
Maybe you lost it there.
What?
The Baroness never loses anything, sir.
I never lose anything.
Very well then. I shall be on the lookout for your purse. If I might ask you a few questions about your fellow passengers.
I thought he was looking for my purse. James, tell him to look for my purse.
The Baroness wishes that you search for her purse.
But couldn't we perhaps... All right. First, the purse. I will have a look around.
Thank you, sir.
I don't believe it. I never thought I'd ever meet you.
Pardon me, but we'd prefer...
It's all right, Miss Miller. I'd like to speak to the inspector.
Unfortunately, just a constable, Lady Westmacott. I'm reading The Vicarage in the Mirror right now, for the 5th time at least.
That's nice, Constable...
Zellner. Anton Jakob Zellner.
This is my companion, Miss Miller.
A pleasure. May I ask what you're doing here? Are you on holiday?
Holiday? Yes, so to speak. The first and last holiday of my life.
Madam?
I've been writing since I was a little girl. It became my job, and now I've stopped. So, this must be a holiday.
You quit writing? Impossible. I have all of your books. Your Detective Partout is my favorite character.
Then I have bad news for you. I killed the old wretch off years ago.
I don't understand.
I'd rather not discuss my work, Constable.
Oh, well, fine. There's something else. A passenger's purse has gone missing. I suppose you haven't seen it.
I'm sorry, Constable Zellner. As you know, I only deal with murder, not burglary.
Have you asked my boy yet? Maddie is good at finding things.
I'll go and do that now. Are you traveling to Istanbul, Lady Westmacott?
No, we are on our way to Venice. From there, we will take a ship to Cairo. As you may know, I have a penchant for archaeology. I fund a few excavations in Egypt. I traveled to Egypt by ship as a young woman. And now I'm doing it again as an old woman.
I see. As a writer, you must be very observant. Am I right? I mean, you have to study the behavior of people around you to create the characters in your novels, don't you?
I solved the mystery of human nature a long time ago, Mr. Zellner. Since then, most people just bore me.
Really? I had the impression you were eyeing me suspiciously as I came in.
What do you want to know, Constable?
Did you notice the man who just walked into the next carriage with a cup of tea?
I did. He seemed nervous. He was waiting at the bar for the steward, and since the steward never appeared, he elected to help himself. He took 2 biscuits.
He seems pretty young, but he's already a professor at the British Museum.
Interesting. I'll have to talk to him later. Just out of courtesy, of course.
Of course. Did you notice the blonde man with the violin case?
I certainly did. He introduced himself and tried to make a good impression. People like him are drawn to wealth and fame, like moths to a flame.
But his charms failed on you.
I know him by name. David Kreutzer. He was a drain on my friend's purse.
Do you think he has a money problem?
People like him always have a money problem. No matter how much you give them, they always spend twice as much and complain that they have far too little.
Did you notice anyone else? What about the doctor or the Baroness?
I notice that you've asked me about everyone, except for the inspector who went in the direction of the freight car a few minutes ago. Isn't that the Frenchman who made his name when he caught the Raven?
I wouldn't quite say caught.
Well, shot. Why don't you ask me about him and my theory about what he's doing here?
I don't think we should discuss Inspector Legrand's investigation in public.
Legrand, right. That was his name. Will he save the day again? Or will you, Constable?
As much as I'd like to keep talking, duty calls.
You were right.
Madam?
I did observe you as you came in. You seemed so eager.
It's been a long time since I've had a chance to prove myself, madam.
And this is it? Your chance?
I do hope so.
Then grab it. Even small people can make big changes, as my friend Ronald likes to say.
I shall do my best. Mrs. Miller made a good impression. She wanted to protect Lady Westmacott from me, a pushy admirer. Very diligent. But she does seem a little nervous and tense. I imagine she has her work cut out for her with Matt. And a difficult boss, from what they say. Mrs. Miller?
Yes?
The little boy, Matt, he's your son?
Oh, yes. Has he done something?
No. I've already met him. Clever little fellow.
We always call him Professor because he's so precocious. If only someone could just drive the mischief out of him.
Did you notice anything unusual on the train?
Oh, I'm afraid not. I was totally focused on my work.
She's always got an awful lot to do, my Mary.
You have to tell me if that's not all right with you.
Good Lord, child. Knit as much as you want.
So, nothing out of the ordinary?
No, Constable.
Goodbye, Mrs. Miller.
Goodbye, Constable.
Mrs. Miller made a good impression. She wanted to protect Lady Westmacott from me, a pushy admirer. Very diligent. But she does seem a little nervous and tense. I imagine she has her work cut out for her with Matt. And a difficult boss, from what they say. Butterscotch. I've loved them since I was a child. Their only drawback, they don't play nice with false teeth. I suppose the steward won't object to me having a look around in his absence. Maybe if I just suck it. The pad on which the steward writes orders, empty. Maybe he didn't use it because there's not much to do today.
Mr.
Zellner.
Right. How can I help you?
Tell me, did you notice anything suspicious here on the train or in Zurich?
You mean, except for the fact that my suitcase was stolen on the platform? No. Is there any reason to be concerned?
No, just routine.
Constable Zellner, please don't think I'm naive. I spotted the inspector from Interpol. Legarde is his name, if I recall correctly.
Legrand.
If you say so. At the train station in Zurich, he put a cash box into the safe, and then kept close watch as it was loaded onto the train. Don't tell me that a man at his pay grade routinely tramps across the Alps just to keep an eye on cash boxes.
A cash box? Like the ones you'd find in safe deposit boxes?
Precisely. And I believe we both have a good idea just what's inside.
I do indeed have a theory, but what's yours?
A ruby was stolen in London. One of the legendary Eyes of the Sphinx. The second jewel, an emerald, is rumored to be in a Swiss bank vault, if I remember correctly. Both jewels were supposed to be exhibited together in Cairo for the first time in 50 years. It does make one wonder.
Indeed. Any news about the robbery in London?
Quite something, wasn't it? It must have been professionals. The way they disabled one of the best security systems in the world. Most impressive.
People were injured.
Well, one cannot execute a robbery of that scale without collateral damage. It seems like the Raven has finally found a worthy successor. We can look forward to new and spectacular coups.
I'm afraid I won't enjoy his exploits this time around if the new Raven is so reckless.
That's your prerogative.
May I borrow your newspaper?
You can take the section with the article on the burglary. You're interested in that bit, aren't you?
You caught me out.
Here you go.
Dankeschön. There's something else. Do you know where the conductor is?
I'd like to know that myself. I told him to search for my missing suitcase in Zurich. He hasn't got back to me yet. He's probably in cahoots with the thieves, and didn't bother getting back on the train. If we don't crack down on vermin like them, the rabble will rule the world one day.
Well, at the moment, we still don't know what really happened.
He is not here doing his job. That's bad enough.
I meant to ask, the Baroness is missing her purse.
A Baroness? This train is really full of the creme de la creme. The Queen of Crime is over there, and now a Baroness as well.
Have you seen the purse?
Unfortunately, no. Do you know Lady Westmacott? You were talking to her?
Well, I'm an admirer of her work.
Like so many others. I once read in the newspaper that only Shakespeare and the Bible sell more copies than her crime novels.
I read that too.
She must be filthy rich. As a doctor, I'd have to work 1,000 years to earn that kind of money.
Auf Wiedersehen, Dr. Gebhardt.
Goodbye, Constable. It was a pleasant chat, really.
I made the acquaintance of Dr. Gebhardt on the platform in Zurich. The ladder leads up to the roof. It will be suicidal to climb up there while the train is at full speed. The wind, tunnels... No, I'll stay down here. With a padlock. I suppose it contains tools for the train's crew, maybe for coupling and uncoupling the cars. At any rate, it's positioned so that it's easier to reach from the ground than from up here. I strongly suspect that the door is locked. No, it's open. Hello? Wow.
Don't move a muscle, you feathered fiend.
Put the gun down, Robert. If I may introduce Constable Robert Oliver from the Yard. This is the revered Constable Zellner of the Swiss police, who obviously couldn't control his curiosity.
Then I was right. You really do want to lure someone into a trap.
That's none of your business.
Perhaps that someone recently struck in London.
And how would I bait my trap then?
With an eye? An eye on its way from Zurich to Cairo?
Someone has done his homework. Well done, Constable.
I hope you'll acknowledge that I, as a Swiss policeman, can undertake investigations in my own country.
Are we still in Switzerland?
I could be your eyes on the train, as long as you're here in the freight car.
Oh, really?
There is a certain Professor Lucien on the train. He's an archaeologist from London.
And what's his story?
Well, it seems someone locked him out of his compartment.
Locked him out?
Well, yes. The door is locked and he's standing outside without a key.
Was it locked from inside?
It may have been. Do you think the locked door could be important?
Professor Lucien plays an important role in this story. Well then, Constable Zellner. Be my eyes and ears on the train, and see that Professor Lucien gets back into his compartment. Report back to me when you're through.
My pleasure, monsieur. And then there's the Baroness. She's missing her purse.
Baroness von Trebitz. Interesting.
Indeed, sir.
But it has nothing to do with our case.
So I shouldn't concern myself with the matter?
Why not? It's your job as a policeman. But don't expect me to be particularly interested in a lost purse.
What do you know of this Raven's heir?
He tried to blow me up.
Robert, we don't know who we're dealing with yet.
In any event, the new Raven is a more dangerous man than the old one.
How do you know it's a man? It could just as easily be a woman.
Or several men.
And anyway, how do you know that it's a new Raven?
Monsieur?
Never mind.
I go attend to the door now.
Good. And, Constable Zellner?
Yes?
Don't bother us, unless you have something new to report.
Of course. A thief might get anxious if there's too much activity in the freight car.
Exactement. Knock twice. Then we'll know that it's you.
Understood. An investigation on behalf of the Grand that takes me one step closer. If I can convince him of my competence, I might even be able to see this case through to the end. Who would have thought that one day butterscotch would remind me of my age and of all the things I had to leave behind? Professor Lucien?
Yes? Do you have the key?
Actually, I wanted...
Please. I have to go back to my compartment.
I don't believe that... It's no use. The bolt is too short to get a good grip on it. Should I ask for an autograph? That will be quite unprofessional. But on the other hand... We Swiss are crazy about trains. We don't just have a lot of railroads. We have the most beautiful ones in the world. This is the first car. The coal tender should be directly beyond this door, and in front of it, the engine. The large map shows the different routes of the Orient Express. This train began in Paris and ends in Istanbul, as usual. Unfortunately, it will make most of its journey without me. The train covers a distance of more than 3,000 kilometers. It stops at a dozen places. In many cities, they entertain the travelers with local specialities and culture and adventure, especially in southeastern Europe. If I may trouble you once more, a passenger is missing her purse. Perhaps you've seen it.
So, there are thieves on the train.
It's been missing for some time now. Probably since Zurich.
The Swiss don't let go of money easily, do they? Oh, pardon me. No, I haven't seen the purse.
Have a good trip.
Thank you.
The violinist is a good-looking fellow, and he's traveling through the most beautiful mountain landscape in the world. But one can only hope that his violin is better tuned than he. The steward must have forgotten the toothpicks. Normally, he would offer them discreetly after dinner. Mrs. Miller made a good impression. She wanted to protect Lady Westmacott from me, a pushy admirer. Very diligent. But she does seem a little nervous and tense. I imagine she has her work cut out for her with Matt, and a difficult boss, from what they say. An extraordinary woman. Talented, intellectual, extremely rich, and the most successful writer of all time. Yet, they say she can be difficult on occasion, and that she's rather unhappy. Excuse me, Lady Westmacott.
Constable Zellner, how can I help you?
I was wondering if you might...
Sign your book, Constable Zellner?
If it isn't too much of an inconvenience.
Of course it's an inconvenience, but only a small one. You are welcome.
Thank you so very much. Another time. Farewell, Lady Westmacott.
Constable?
I made the acquaintance of Dr. Gebhardt on the platform. Locked.
Bang, bang!
Huh?
Don't move.
Matt, have you gone mad?
I'll shoot. Hey, my pistol.
You'll get it back in Venice. I could have fallen under the wheels.
I thought you were a ghost.
Ghosts don't exist.
They do too. One just flew past the window.
Yes, sure. Now get moving.
Oh, man.
I'd better let him read his newspaper if I don't have any pressing questions.
Oh, Constable?
Yes, Mom.
My son didn't make any trouble for you, I hope. It's just that he just walked past us, silent and seething. That's usually a sign that someone's laid down the law.
I'm afraid so. He played a trick on me, a rather dangerous one. The lad left me no choice but to take away his wooden pistol as a punishment.
I understand. And thank you. Matty is a very lively child. Sometimes he needs a strong fatherly hand.
Where is Matt's father, if I may ask?
He's gone.
Ah, I understand.
Could you, leave Matty's pistol here, perhaps? So you don't have to bother with it?
Of course. I told him he wouldn't get it back until Venice.
Very well. Thank you again, Constable.
First, I'd better see about getting the door open, and then have another talk with the professor. Doesn't seem like I'll get anything out of him as long as the door is still locked. He doesn't make a very balanced impression, and he, of all people, isn't bothered by a robbery in his own museum. Hello, Matt. Oh, come on. Are you going to be angry with me for the rest of the trip?
Until I get my pistol back.
I gave it to your mother.
Oh, man. Couldn't you have just raked me over the coals?
Would you have learned anything from that?
I didn't learn anything from this either.
Matt doesn't really seem to be content. Come on, Matt. Did you really think that you can ignore me for longer than I can ignore you? I'm Swiss. It's practically a national sport. Matt is digging in his heels. I won't get anything out of him as long as he's angry with me. Matt is digging in his heels. I won't get anything out of him as long as he's angry with me. Matt is digging in his heels. I won't get anything out of him as long as he's angry with me. Would you like a butterscotch?
You think you can bribe me?
I have no reason to. You made trouble and got punished for it. Take it as a peace offering.
Just 4?
If I'm faster than you, there'll only be 3.
Hey!
Friends again?
Mm-hmm.
All right then. And And no dangerous nonsense anymore.
Okay.
Your mother is Lady Westmacott's companion, correct?
Yeah, but it's not like you think. At first I thought, boy, you must be really wicked if you need to pay for friends. But the lady's really okay. A bit odd and really old. But other than that, she's great. She likes me.
The lady has peculiar taste.
Hey!
You and your mother, do you both live on Lady Westmacott's estate?
I'm only there for the holidays. Most of the time I'm at boarding school.
I imagine that's not very pleasant.
No, it's fine. I have friends there. You always have to be so quiet in the lady's house. And I'm not allowed to bring any friends.
Such a big house with so many places to hide and no one to play hide and seek with.
You said it.
And how long has your mother worked for the lady?
2 years.
And your father? What does he do?
He stayed home. I used to go fishing with him. And hunting. He even let me shoot a real gun.
And then?
Then Mom fought with him. And he left. I was 7.
Oh. And how old are you now?
In 8 months, I'll be 9 years old.
And do you already know what you want to be when you grow up? A burglar?
No. We'll see. Maybe an actor.
Really? Well, I don't know. You need a lot of talent for that. I'm an actor in a theater group, you know?
You are?
Oh, yes. And I'm one of the best in our group, if I may say so. I get really deep into my roles, you know? I don't just talk like the character. I think like him. I become him. It's the only way to... Matt, are you okay?
I think you just have to be good at copying things to be an actor.
That wasn't bad. Disturbing, but not bad. The Baroness in the second compartment over there is missing her purse. Do you have any idea where it could be?
Do I ever? That guy over there with the violin case?
What about him?
He picked up something in Zurich and put it in his violin case.
Really?
Yeah, and he made sure that nobody saw him.
But you saw him.
Uh-huh.
Did you also see what it was?
Nah, not really. But now that I think of it, it must have been the Baroness's purse.
I should look into it, shouldn't I?
I think so.
Tell me, have you seen the steward anywhere?
No. He was walking around a little while ago, though.
Hopefully they didn't forget him in Zurich.
What's he supposed to do?
I'm looking for a key to open a compartment door.
Did you check his things behind the counter?
I'm sure the drawers will be locked.
Can't you break it open? Or pick the lock like the Raven?
Perhaps. But I'd need a piece of wire or something like that.
Ask my mom. She has a lot of hairpins. She doesn't like the wind messing up her hair.
Thanks for the tip. So long.
So longer.
The violin case looks pretty old, but that doesn't say anything about the quality of the violin. The best violins are often in the oldest cases. Matt says the violinist put something in his violin case on the platform. Seems suspicious somehow. The question is, how credible is a statement from an imaginative boy? I doubt the violinist will let me have a look in his case. Excuse me, sir. About the purse.
Ah, yes? Has it been found?
Someone saw you with your violin case on the platform in Zurich.
What's the meaning of this? I didn't steal anything.
Nobody said you did. I just wanted to ask you whether you might have noticed anything on the platform.
Ah, well...
Why did you think I was accusing you?
Well, I thought, because you mentioned my violin case in the context of the purse.
Apropos, may I have a look at your violin? It must be a very extraordinary piece.
Oh, that's not possible. It's a genuine Guarneri.
Very valuable.
Very. And also very sensitive.
What could harm it here? Light? Air? May I ask you to open the violin case?
No, you may not. I'm not guilty of anything.
I'm afraid I have to insist.
Then I'm afraid you need a warrant. I will not stand back and let you rifle through my belongings.
Have a good trip.
Thank you.
I think the violinist is hiding something. But to be sure that Matt was right, I have to get a look in the violin case. How can I do that without the violinist's consent? I think the violinist is hiding something. But to be sure that Matt was right, I have to get a look in the violin case. How can I do that without the violinist's consent? All right, Matt. Tell me now. The violinist won't let me check his violin case.
Of course he won't. He's hiding something. Should I distract him? Then you can have a look in his case.
What do you suggest?
I could tell him there's a suitcase full of money in the next carriage. If he's a thief, he'll definitely want to take a look at it.
I don't think he'll fall for that.
Or I can insult him and then run away. He'll try to catch me, and you'll have a chance to look in that violin case.
Now that I think about it, this is something I have to attend to on my own. It would be expecting a bit much from a little boy.
Little boy? You must be kidding.
Sorry, Sheriff, but your idea about distracting him is good all the same. So long.
So longer.
I think the violinist is hiding something. But to be sure that Matt was right, I have to get a look in the violin case. How can I do that without the violinist's consent? Matt says the violinist put something in his violin case on the platform. Seems suspicious somehow. The question is, how credible is a statement from an imaginative boy? The violinist is uncooperative. I'm not authorized to search his belongings against his will and without a good reason. And he knows it. I have to come up with something. Matt says the violinist put something in his violin case on the platform. The question is, how credible is a statement from an imaginative boy? The violinist is uncooperative. I'm not authorized to search his belongings against his will and without a good reason. And he knows it. I have to come up with something. There are thousands of things I would like to ask her, but nothing would justify neglecting my duties here on the train. Mrs. Miller?
Yes?
Please excuse my unusual request, but Matt said you have some hairpins. Could I borrow one?
One of my hairpins?
It's a long story. It would be a big help.
Well, if you really need one.
Go ahead, Mary. The constable won't do it any harm. Will you, Mr. Zellner?
Of course not, madam.
Is this one okay?
It'll do nicely, madam. How very kind of you. Goodbye, Mrs. Miller.
Goodbye, Constable.
bolt is too short to get a good grip on it. I'm at a loss without a key or a proper tool. The door is locked. I'm at a loss without a key or a proper tool. First, I better see about getting the door open, and then have another talk with the professor. It doesn't seem like I'll get anything out of him as long as the door is still locked. The bolt is too short to get a good grip on it. I'm at a loss without a key or a proper tool. The bolt is too short to get a good grip on it. I'm at a loss without a key or a proper tool. Doesn't work with this kind of lock. I need something to turn the pin. The bolt is too short to get a good grip on it. I'm at a loss without a key or a proper tool. The door is locked. I'm at a loss without a key or a proper tool. It doesn't work with this kind of lock. I need something to turn the pin. The Baroness seems to have a special personality. I better not bother her until I find her purse. He doesn't make a very balanced impression, and he of all people isn't bothered by a robbery in his own museum. I've no idea what I'd say to Matt. I've no idea what I'd say to Matt. The kid's not on the warpath anymore. I don't think he'll be causing any more trouble, for the next half hour anyway.
Would you be so kind as to close the window?
No, I'd like some fresh air.
But I don't want to catch a cold.
I'm sorry, my fellow. We Swiss are crazy about trains. We don't just have a lot of railroads. We have the most beautiful ones in the world. That makes no sense. The violinist would close the window immediately, and I wouldn't have enough time to search his violin case. I think the violinist is hiding something. But to be sure that Matt was right, I have to get a look in the violin case. How can I do that without the violinist's consent? That makes no sense. The violinist would close the window immediately, and I wouldn't have enough time to search his violin case. Drops. The calming herbal liqueur for women. A glass a day. It relaxes the nerves and maintains domestic tranquility. Luna's Drops. If you don't want to bother your husband. A story about the upcoming Oscars and Cleopatra's chances of winning. An incredible feat. They built the largest movie set of all time in Rome. And because of the main actress's many illnesses, several changes of director, and months of delays, costs shot to over $40 million. The most expensive movie ever made. A record never to be broken. John Surtees won the Formula One World Championship for the first time on Saturday. He also won the World Championship in motorcycle racing from 1956 to 1960, making him the only man in motorsports to win world championships in both motorcycle and Formula One events. Not really my cup of tea. Too loud, too fast, too much exhaust. Makes no sense. The violinist would close the window immediately, and I wouldn't have enough time to search his violin case. I'd better let him read his newspaper if I don't have any pressing questions. A shortwave radio. It's amazing how small these things have become in the last 10 years. I need a bit of wire or something like that to pick the lock. The steward probably uses the scissors on hard-to-open packages. These days, nearly everything is sealed up tight. A colleague recently told me about dry powdered soup in small bags. I couldn't believe it. I don't need the pad, but the pencil might come in handy. I need a bit of wire or something like that to pick the lock. This is the steward's own little kingdom, but as long as he's not around, he won't be upset if I take a look. I need a bit of wire or something like that to pick the lock. This is the steward's own little kingdom, but as long as he's not around, he won't be upset if I take a look. I'll leave the scissors here. If I need them, I know where to find them. I made the acquaintance of Dr. Gebhardt on the platform in Zurich. I'd better let him read his newspaper if I don't have any pressing questions. I'd better let him read his newspaper if I don't have any pressing questions. I'd better let him read his newspaper if I don't have any pressing questions. Inspector Legrand was quite clear. I'm only to enter the freight car if there's news to report. The box is secured with a padlock. I won't be able to open it without a key. Picking a modern padlock in an uncomfortable position on a rocking train? I'm too old for that. What I'd say to Matt. I think the violinist is hiding something, but to be sure that Matt was right, I have to get a look in the violin case. How can I do that without the violinist's consent? The Baroness seems to have a special personality. I better not bother her until I find her purse. There are thousands of things I would like to ask her, but nothing would justify neglecting my duties here on the train. The right key or a proper tool to get the door open. It doesn't work with this kind of lock. I need something to turn the pin. There are thousands of things I would like to ask her, but nothing would justify neglecting my duties here on the train. I think it's uncomfortable for her when I talk to her in front of Lady Westmacott. She seems to take it as an inappropriate distraction from her work, although she's just knitting. Taking up a craft like that is typical of women who were told as little girls that idleness is a sin. I think it's uncomfortable for her when I talk to her in front of Lady Westmacott. She seems to take it as an inappropriate distraction from her work, although she's just knitting. Taking up a craft like that is typical of women who were told as little girls that idleness is a sin. Mrs. Miller made a good impression. She wanted to protect Lady Westmacott from me, a pushy admirer. Very diligent. But she does seem a little nervous and tense. I imagine she has her work cut out for her with Matt, and a difficult bus from what they say. I'll leave the scissors here. If I need them, I know where to find them. I need a bit of wire or something like that to pick the lock. And suddenly, it's me who's the thief on the train. Oops, that was easier than expected. Batteries, a toothbrush, shaving brush, but not the key to the compartment door. Just this one. Too small for the door, but it might still be useful. There we go. This should help. No, that's a totally different key. This one is made for a padlock. I need a bigger key with a square indentation or a proper tool for the compartment door. The bolt is too short to get a good grip on it, but it should work with the pliers from the toolbox. I bet I could really get a grip on the bolt with these.
Well, come on then, hurry up.
Hello?
I barely left the window ajar.
Nothing to see. Are you okay?
Yes, fine.
Do you have any idea why the door was locked?
I don't know. Maybe the constant vibrations caused the lock to lock itself.
You can't possibly believe that.
Well, then what's your theory?
The conductor could have locked it from the outside. On the other hand, it could have been someone here in the compartment who locked the door from the inside.
Who? And where have they gone?
They could have climbed out there.
Who would be that insane?
You tell me, Professor. So, what are you hiding in your bag? What do you have that would be worth stealing?
No, nothing.
No valuables?
Certainly not. Not on my salary.
It was enough for a first-class compartment on a luxury train.
That's my business.
You're playing a dangerous game, Professor Lucien. I'd like to look around a bit.
Of course.
Assuming there really was someone in the compartment, and he climbed out the window, where's he gone? Wow, you have a very nice fountain pen. Privacy.
If you'd managed to decode hieroglyphics that boggled the best minds of the last 3,000 years, you'd have received a gift like that as well.
No, nothing interesting. I really wonder what the professor is hiding from me. But I can't just rifle through the luggage of innocent citizens. This is the 60s. The Bible, Grimm's fairy tales, Moby Dick, and gin, whiskey, and rum. All classics. Professor Lucien?
Yes?
Oh, nothing.
Well, good.
What's this?
What do you have there?
It's a button. From a suit or a uniform, I guess.
The burglar might have lost it.
Maybe. Or maybe not. If I notice anyone with a missing button on his jacket, I'll ask him about it. But I wouldn't get my hopes up. If there was a burglar, he climbed out the window and jumped off the train. Did the burglar leave any clues? Here's something. Might be fingerprints. They're tough to make out, but I do believe there are some prints on the window. If I had a forensics kit, I could make the prints visible with carbon powder. They're tough to make out, but I do believe there are some prints on the window. If I had a forensics kit, I could make the prints visible with carbon powder. Goodbye, Professor.
Goodbye.
The tip of the toothpick is stuck between the window and the runner.
What are you doing? Didn't I make myself clear? The window stays closed. Hey, what are you doing there?
I was taking your case for safekeeping, since it was left here unattended. When I picked it up, the cover unlatched.
I never leave my violin unattended.
Ah, then no one else could have put this purse in your case.
Someone must have snuck it in, like you.
Aha, for sure. And you have a pistol in the case because...
I don't owe you an explanation. It's mine. I have a gun license. Now, take the damned purse to the Baroness and leave me in peace. Just get lost.
It won't be that easy. I'll report the incident to the Italian authorities in Venice. I'll inform the authorities in Venice. They'll decide what to do with him.
Oh, Inspector, did you find the Baroness's purse?
I did indeed.
You did? Out of my way, James. Oh, wunderbar. Tremendous work, Inspector.
Constable, Baroness. Constable Anton Jakob Zellner at your service. May I ask you where this beautiful train is taking you?
To the madhouse, I'm afraid. One is close to the brink of insanity with this constant shaking and rattling.
Have you ever tried flying, Baroness?
Do you know how little luggage one is permitted upon an aeroplane? It defies all reason and good taste.
Have you heard about the burglary at the British Museum?
Heard about it? I'm directly affected by it.
How so?
I'm in charge of the Friends of the British Museum. And for your information, I'm financing the exhibition.
Exhibition? What exhibition?
The exhibition in Cairo. Where did you think we were going? The eyes of the Sphinx were supposed to be exhibited together for the first time in decades. Now that one of them is gone, the exhibition will be rather less sensational than we'd hoped.
On the other hand, there's a chance that all the uproar will generate more attention, and that the exhibition will still be a great success.
Perhaps, but we wanted to show them both together. That was the whole point.
Can you tell me anything about your fellow passengers, Baroness?
No, not really. I could hardly care who's penned up in here with me. Oh, no. Wait a minute. Lucien is here, the professor. Poor fellow. The eye of the Sphinx that was stolen belonged to his collection.
Professor Lucien is an Egyptologist.
But of course. As director of the Egyptian department of the British Museum, he has to be. The whole burglary thing really upset him. Director Thomas told me he was a nervous wreck.
I'll take my leave of you now, Baroness, and I do hope your journey becomes more bearable.
Ha! Yes, indeed, Inspector.
Constable. James? Professor Lucien.
Door is open. How can I help you, Constable Zelmer?
I believe you and the inspector do know each other.
What makes you think that?
It seems like the two of you are running a haulage company specializing in safes.
I won't comment on that. It's a matter of international importance.
Tell me, Professor, would you happen to have a key in your briefcase? And if so, would it still happen to be there?
Then all would be as it should.
That's what we hope, at least. All the same, it would have been a simple matter for a thief to make an impression of it. Right, Professor?
Oh.
And the break-in? It wasn't an issue for you? Even though you're the head of the department where it occurred?
All right. The burglary was most upsetting. And shocking. And I didn't know what to do, okay?
And you couldn't just tell me that.
The fewer people who know about it, the better. I can't trust anyone.
You're not only going to Venice, are you? Could it be that your journey will continue? All the way to Egypt, perhaps? I'm on your side, but the more you lie to me, the more difficult you make my job. I'd like to look around a bit.
Of course.
They're tough to make out, but I do believe there are some prints on the window. If I had a forensics kit, I could make the prints visible with carbon powder. Goodbye, Professor.
Goodbye.
Pardon me, sir.
We could have used you a few minutes ago. Mrs. Miller?
Yes?
Thank you for your hairpin, Mrs. Miller. It really got me out of a jam.
Oh, really? That's good to hear. And thank you for bringing it back to me. Not everybody would have.
I'm a Swiss policeman, madam. I couldn't do otherwise even if I tried. Goodbye, Mrs. Miller.
Goodbye, Constable.
There are thousands of things I would like to ask her, but nothing would justify neglecting my duties here on the train. What? Someone broke off the radio's antenna. This could be a long trip to Istanbul. When When I scratch the pencil's lead with the scissors, I get fine graphite powder. I won't get a Nobel Prize for the idea, but graphite powder will bring out fingerprints at a pinch. For brave Constable Anton Jakob Zellner, whose time shall surely come. Clarissa Westmacott, DBE. I don't think the Baroness has any more information for me. And she's not the most pleasant conversationalist either. Professor Lucien.
Door is open.
How can I help you, Constable Zellner?
I'd like to have a look around the compartment.
Oh, of course. What are you doing?
I'm trying to make what I suspect are fingerprints visible.
And? Found anything?
Unfortunately, no. There are only a couple of fingerprints on the window. It was probably cleaned before departure, but the prints I can see look like glove marks.
Well, wouldn't you expect that? What professional burglar wouldn't wear gloves?
It was worth a try. I can only make out faint traces. Whoever was in this compartment was wearing gloves. Goodbye, Professor.
Goodbye.
The butler, this James, seems to have escaped the Baroness. The butler, this James, seems to have escaped the Baroness. Good day to you, sir.
Can I be of any assistance, sir?
I wanted to ask you a few questions. Where did you and the Baroness board the train?
In Paris, sir. The Baroness was there on behalf of a charity that she supported for many years.
So you weren't in London when they broke into the British Museum?
We may have been, actually. We left for Dover bright and early the morning after the burglary. But it was in Paris when we first heard of it. The morning paper in London didn't mention the unfortunate event, sir.
And just 2 days later, you're on a train bound for Switzerland. The Baroness certainly gets around.
Indeed, sir. We're practically always on the go.
What can you tell me about the Baroness?
Nothing, sir. A butler does not tattle.
If you'll pardon a rather odd question, are you really named James? That would be a lucky coincidence in your line of work.
My name, sir, is Clive Alfred Inch.
Your second name is Alfred, yet the Baroness calls you James.
Madam considers James to be the only forename suited to a butler, sir.
Isn't butler an odd choice of career? Butler. Many would say it's a strange job.
It is true that I am one of a dying breed, sir. The war claimed a generation of butlers.
Have you been to war as well?
Indeed, sir. I was a groom for a cavalry officer.
When you British talk about war, one is never sure which war you mean. It seems the situation hasn't changed much since the 30 Years' War, has it?
Shrapnel from a bomb dropped by a Fokker would not have wounded me in the 30 Years' War, sir.
No, of course not. Goodbye, James. Or Alfred. The butler, this James, seems to have escaped the Baroness. Hey, Matt. The violinist really did steal the purse. Well observed.
I knew it! I bet he's got more stuff planned. I'll stay here and keep an eye on him secretly. Okay?
Sounds like a plan. Hello, Dr. Gebhardt.
Ah, Mr. Zellner.
I've been wondering why you're wearing gloves. Are your hands really so sensitive? Or are you cold?
Ah, well, it's an old habit. As a doctor, one is so conscious of all the pathogens, bacteria, and viruses that surround us. Though, of course, perhaps I do tend to be a bit too cautious.
I know exactly what you mean. As a policeman, I sense subterfuge and lies everywhere. Auf Wiedersehen, Dr. Gebhardt.
Goodbye, Constable. It was a pleasant chat, really.
I made the acquaintance of Dr. Gebhardt on the platform in Zurich. Inspector Legrand?
Anything to report?
I got Professor Lucien into his compartment using a pair of pliers.
Did you notice anything inside the compartment?
The window was open. Someone could have climbed out.
And the professor?
Acted suspiciously. He rummaged around in his leather bag.
And?
He seemed to have found what he was searching for.
Good. Good work.
Now, perhaps you could give me some information.
All right. We should...
What? The light's gone out.
Flashlights! Ah! Get off me!
There, sir. An envelope.
My dear Nico, you should take a closer look at the box. R.
What the dickens? It's a...
Away with it! Take cover!
Oh, dear. Oh. Is everyone all right? Are you hurt? Quick thinking. Well done, Zellner.
I think the tunnel collapsed.
Then he's trapped. Hurry! We have to lock the second exit.
Sir, there's a fire up ahead. The engine's burning.
It's a distraction. Hurry! Block the exit!
But, sir...
The fire will consume all the oxygen.
He's right, Inspector. A fire in a narrow tunnel is extremely dangerous.
Merde! Go to the front of the train, find the engineer, and tell him to move the train out of the tunnel.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready? You have to uncouple the freight car. You understand?
I understand.
I'll see to the passengers. They should all wait in the tunnel. We'll check each one in turn as they go out.
Let's get to it. A lot was damaged by the sudden stop, but the bowl was thick enough to survive the fall. My God, what a fire. I hope Constable Oliver can at least reach the engine. The last of the candy has vanished. Measured against the exploding freight car, I think the railway will overlook the loss.
Oh, pardon me. I did not mean to scare you.
What are you doing here, Doctor?
Legrand asked me to check whether there are any passengers left on the train.
Really? No one is here, except for me and you.
Excellent. Then I will continue searching at the front.
Did anyone act suspiciously before the explosion? Did anyone leave their seat, for example?
I was the only one on the train who wasn't seated when the freight car exploded. Thank God. Otherwise, I would have been caught by the blast as well.
You certainly were lucky.
Perhaps I was. What happened over there? The inspector said something about gas canisters that exploded.
He didn't want to scare you. The truth is, it was a bomb meant to kill him and the Bobby.
My God. An attack? But who would...
The investigations are ongoing, but first we have to get the burning train out of the tunnel.
Oh, of course.
How are the passengers?
They are in a state of shock, of course. The blackout and the sudden stop were frightening enough, but then the explosion, the dust, everyone rushed for the exits. I was helping the American woman bring Lady Westmacott to safety. They are waiting outside in the tunnel. One entrance is blocked by a fire, and the other one seems to have collapsed.
Continue to search the train. I'll decouple the buried freight car.
All right.
Doctor? Can you give me a few matches?
Oh, certainly.
Thanks. I'll meet you outside.
Do hurry.
I should concentrate on uncoupling the freight car. I'm positive that Legrand has everything else under control. I should concentrate on uncoupling the freight car. I'm positive that Legrand has everything else under control. A fine, but rather heavy curtain. The surface shimmers and feels smooth. Probably doesn't burn easily, like the tablecloths. Safety regulations require it, which, given the present situation, is actually a good thing. I noticed the extinguisher earlier. Doesn't match the decor. I suppose that the railway company had to comply with safety regulations at the cost of aesthetics. The chair either fell over thanks to the sudden stop, or an escaping passenger knocked it over. Wanting to get off the train as quickly as possible after a sudden stop and a massive tremor, that's understandable. I noticed the extinguisher earlier. Doesn't match the decor. I suppose that the railway company had to comply with safety regulations at the cost of aesthetics. I don't see Legrand or the constable, but I can make out the silhouettes of some of the passengers. They seem to be unscathed. All the same, the fire is getting bigger, and I don't have much time. The fire is sucking the oxygen out of the tunnel and filling it with poisonous carbon monoxide. Here in the Alps there have been dozens of catastrophes in tunnels that ended with death by asphyxiation. But not on my watch. It'd be useless against the fire out there, and it's too cumbersome to carry around. At best, I can use it here. It's not bothering me, I'll leave it there. I'm sure I could uncouple the car if I only had enough light to see what I'm doing. There's a noticeable draft here. Maybe it's because of the fire, or perhaps there's still a hole through which the air is coming. The latter will be quite welcome. It will buy us some more time. The inspector's trap failed. The thief must have got wind of it. Worse than that, he turned the tables. To win a game of cat and mouse, you have to know who is the cat and who is the mouse. The wheels came off the track during the explosion. Even if it were possible to pull the car out of the rubble, you wouldn't get far with it. It's still quite warm and too warped to open. Hello? Nothing. I think the noise could have come from the roof of the saloon car. Can't see anything up there. Too much dust and smoke in the air. The coupling mechanism is down there, but I can hardly see a thing. I need some light. It'd be blown out right away. I better save the matches. The other passengers escaped from the train. I can see their silhouettes in the light of the fire. If I don't hurry up and uncouple the freight car, they'll suffocate. Whiskey, scotch, rum, liqueurs, enough to entertain everyone on the train all the way from Paris to Istanbul. Carling Black Label, a British beer. Champagne, the finest. Maybe we'll open a bottle if we get out of the tunnel alive. Until then, though, it's no use to me. No good. Insufficient alcohol content. For practical purposes, I mean, not for drinking. High-proof rum. Could be useful. Rum from Austria. Believe it or not, it's 80% alcohol by volume. There's no way anyone would drink it straight. Rum from Austria. Believe it or not, it's 80% alcohol by volume. There's no way anyone would drink it straight. The last of the candy has vanished. Measured against the exploding freight car, I think the railway will overlook the loss. The chair either fell over thanks to the sudden stop, or an escaping passenger knocked it over. Wanting to get off the train as quickly as possible after a sudden stop and a massive tremor, that's understandable. It's not bothering me, I'll leave it there. I noticed the extinguisher earlier. Doesn't match the decor. I suppose that the railway company had to comply with safety regulations at the cost of aesthetics. Some matches, and half of the book to get the flame going. The last of the candy has vanished. Measured against the exploding freight car, I think the railway will overlook the loss. Pills for my heart. I'm supposed to take one if I have pain. I haven't needed them yet. That should do it. Can't really say the fabric was eager to soak up the rum. I, on the other hand, soaked up enough in my fingers to smell like a drunk. I noticed the extinguisher earlier. Doesn't match the decor. I suppose that the railway company had to comply with safety regulations at the cost of aesthetics. Must be good for something. All right, let's go. The material won't be able to soak up any more alcohol. I've filled the bowl about 1/3 of the way with rum. Phew, strong stuff. Some matches, and half of the book to get the flame going. I've filled the bowl about 1/3 of the way with rum. Phew, strong stuff. I've filled the bowl about 1/3 of the way with rum. Phew, strong stuff. The material won't be able to soak up any more alcohol. I've filled the bowl about 1/3 of the way with rum. Phew, strong stuff. The alcohol burns with a dim blue flame. It doesn't shed enough light and will probably burn out in a few seconds. Won't solve my lack of light. I'll have to try something else. I've filled the bowl about 1/3 of the way with rum. Phew, strong stuff. Some matches, and half of the book to get the flame going. I bought it last week, second-hand. I liked it because it seems to tell a story. It was set aside for a newer model, even though it's still quite okay. I broke the leg off a beautiful chair, and knowing the Swiss Federal Railways, they'll bill me for it. The coupling mechanism is down there, but I can hardly see a thing. I need some light. Okay, I'll smear some grease on the curtain. I can feel cold metal and a screw thread, and a lot of grease, but I can't do more without light. can feel cold metal and a screw thread, and a lot of grease, but I can't do more without light. I'm sure I could uncouple the car if I only had enough light to see what I'm doing. I filled the bowl about a third of the way with rum. Phew, strong stuff. The greasy cloth is wrapped tightly around the chair leg. That looks promising. The material won't be able to soak up any more alcohol. The greasy cloth is wrapped tightly around the chair leg. That looks promising. I shouldn't be wasteful. One burning match should be enough. Rum from Austria. Believe it or not, it's 80% alcohol by volume. There's no way anyone would drink it straight. The material won't be able to soak up any more alcohol. The greasy cloth is wrapped tightly around the chair leg. That looks promising. The material won't be able to soak up any more alcohol. I filled the bowl about a third of the way with rum. Phew, strong stuff. I filled the bowl about a third of the way with rum. Phew, strong stuff. Oil and grease burn bright and hot, but they also require a hot flame to combust. A normal match won't do the trick. The material won't be able to soak up any more alcohol. Oil and grease burn bright and hot, but they also require a hot flame to combust. A normal match won't do the trick. I filled the bowl about a third of the way with rum. Phew, strong stuff. Just as I expected, the alcohol burns with an almost invisible flame. The flame is hot, but it's no use as a light source. Rum from Austria. Believe it or not, it's 80% alcohol by volume. There's no way anyone would drink it straight. Rum from Austria. Believe it or not, it's 80% alcohol by volume. There's no way anyone would drink it straight. The material won't be able to soak up any more alcohol. The flame is hot, but it's no use as a light source. The flame is hot, but it's no use as a light source. The material won't be able to soak up any more alcohol. The greasy cloth is wrapped tightly around the chair leg. That looks promising. The greasy cloth is wrapped tightly around the chair leg. That looks promising. There's a pretty intense draft here. The fire is sucking up the oxygen. I can feel cold metal and a screw thread, and a lot of grease, but I can't do more without light. I bought it last week, second-hand. I liked it because it seems to tell a story. It was set aside for a newer model, even though it's still quite okay. The coupling mechanism is down there, but I can hardly see a thing. I need some light. The material won't be able to soak up any more alcohol. The greasy cloth is wrapped tightly around the chair leg. That looks promising. The flame is hot, but it's no use as a light source. I'm the god of fire. That's better now. Incredibly basic mechanism, the kind that lasts forever. Won't budge. Too much tension on the coupling. Incredibly basic mechanism, the kind that lasts forever. A lever on a pressure sleeve running along a thread. Aha! I can uncouple it with this lever. Okay. There we go. Time to get out of here.
Listen, everybody! Listen! Robert, what's the situation?
Yeah, I couldn't find the engineer, so I got in the driver's cab myself and released the brake.
All right. Good job. You too. Listen, please.
Matty! Where's Matt? Where's my son?
Relax, madame. I'm sure...
Help! Matty! No!
Matt, where are you? Oh. Matt, are you there? Nothing. Matt? What on earth are you doing there? What were you thinking? Come out of there.
Is he gone?
Is who gone?
The man.
What are you doing on the train anyway? Why didn't you wait in the tunnel with the other passengers?
I wanted to get my pistol.
Your pistol?
There's so many cops and thieves and explosions and everything. Then I need a pistol too.
Makes sense. Well, what about this man?
There was a man. He was coughing.
One of the passengers?
I think he came down from the roof.
All right. First, I'll stop the train, and then we'll have a chat, okay? You want to come out? Good idea. You stay put. Hardly see out of the window because of the smoke. I don't know how much coal is burning on the tender up there, but it must be tons. I can't do anything about the fire. This door leads to the tender. It will be uncomfortable, no doubt, but I don't think that the flames are directly behind the door. I suppose there's a relatively safe space in the lee of the tender where one could stay a little while. I need to stop the train as quickly as possible. There's nothing I can do about the coal fire. I need to stop the train as quickly as possible. There's nothing I can do about the coal fire. This door leads to the tender. It will be uncomfortable, no doubt, but I don't think that the flames are directly behind the door. I suppose there's a relatively safe space in the lee of the tender where one could stay a little while. I bought it second-hand last week. A new one. An access for emergencies. If this isn't an emergency, I don't know what is. I need to stop the train as quickly as possible. There's nothing I can do about the coal fire. This door leads to the tender. It will be uncomfortable, no doubt, but I don't think that the flames are directly behind the door. I suppose there's a relatively safe space in the lee of the tender where one could stay a little while. I need to stop the train as... I need to stop... The emergency brake. That could be our chance. Damn, that makes things extremely complicated. How can I stop the train? The emergency brake either was damaged in the explosion or was sabotaged. But whatever, it's not working. I think I should try to uncouple the engine. I mean, how else can I stop the train? If the emergency brake doesn't work, I'll have to try something else. Here goes. Ouch! Hot! This door leads to the tender. It will be uncomfortable, no doubt, but I don't think that the flames are directly behind the door. I suppose there's a relatively safe space in the lee of the tender where one could stay a little while. The handle is already too hot to touch. That's or something. It could prove to be very useful, but if I don't stop the train soon, I won't be able to use that information in this lifetime. The engine and the coal tender are burning stronger and hotter. The airflow is feeding the flames. I have to decouple the wagons immediately. Sooner or later, the engine will be blown apart. Soft towel, very comfortable. I'll wrap it around my neck to keep my hands free. My situation isn't that desperate. What have you got yourself into? Couldn't you have just let it be? But no, of course not. And now you're here, on an out-of-control train in the Alps, responsible for the life of a child who'll be doomed without you. What are you waiting for, eh? Time to save the day. The tanks don't seem to be damaged. The water is still running. When the high and mighty travel, they travel in style. It's soaking up the cold water. The handle is already too hot to touch. Okay, we'll do it the hard way. should do the trick. The coupling won't release because it's under too much tension. The engine is pulling the cars and its full force is acting on the coupling. It's just a hook, but it won't budge like that. The engine is pulling the cars and its full force is acting on the coupling. It's just a hook, but it won't budge like that. That's not just smoke. I can actually taste lumps of ash. It's time for my deputy sheriff's story. I uncoupled the locomotive at full speed. Not bad, eh?
Do you think we'll get in trouble?
Because of the locomotive? I don't think so. It was pretty old already. Come out so we can have a chat. I checked the entire train. There's no one on it except for us. What an adventure.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me, what did you see on the train?
Well, it was like this. I wanted to get my pistol. Achoo!
And then?
When the guy was gone, I got up and banged on the window. I wanted to get out of there, but then I thought, what if the guy can hear me from the next car? So I got scared, and I hid again.
You did well. Are you sure it was a man?
Yeah, very sure. What else could he be?
A woman?
No. Girls can't be thieves. Girls are always honest.
If only you knew. Did you recognize the man? Have you met him before?
I don't think so.
Would you recognize him if you saw him again?
No. It was very dark and I was hiding.
Was he a tall man or a short man?
Just a man. I think he was a bad man.
Why do you think that?
He was sneaking around, even though everybody else was outside in the tunnel.
Maybe he just wanted to get his wooden pistol.
Ah, man.
The envelope that the man lost, where is it?
I thought it might be important.
I think we should have a look. Some cash, an Italian passport, blank. Very interesting. And here, a ticket for
the cruise!
What?
The tickets we have for the big ship from Venice to Cairo look exactly the same.
Interesting. May I keep it?
What do you want to do with it?
Take a vacation.
It's evidence.
And my chance to go with you.
The ticket and everything else in the envelope are part of my investigation. And you have no part to play in Cairo.
If I hadn't given you the envelope, you'd have no proof that the Raven's heir would be on the ship.
The ship is his next chance to steal the eye. and he won't give up until he has it.
And that's precisely why you should let me come along.
No.
I deserve to come along.
What you did was extraordinary. Far more than anyone could have a right to expect from you.
And you still want to leave me behind?
You met our foe and barely escaped with your life. You may not be that lucky next time.
It wasn't luck.
You can return to Switzerland with your head held high. Enjoy your triumph.
I have not achieved anything yet. The Fiend tried to kill us, and he's still at large. What else did you find out in the tunnel?
Not much. After we came out of the tunnel, Robert and I questioned the passengers.
Which didn't turn up anything new?
No. The engineer and the fireman were missing. They were found a few kilometers back on the track. Both claimed to have been overwhelmed by a shadow and thrown off the train.
But you don't believe that?
I'm checking their stories. One of them may have been paid to eliminate the other one.
How could the Raven's heir have found out about the trap? How was he able to put the dynamite in the box and place the letter?
The dynamite was probably already in the box when I put it in the safe. I didn't check it.
You had no reason to do so.
It wasn't my only mistake. I knew someone was on the roof of the freight car, but I let myself be distracted by that damned letter.
How did you know?
Too late. I should have reacted instantly.
I'm coming with you. Full stop.
The thief was able to place 10 sticks of dynamite in a cash box right under my nose. For all we know, you could already be sitting on the next bomb. You cannot come.
But, Inspector...
We're here.
Inspector Legrand, an urgent telegram from Paris.
Bad news?
It's about the unfortunate events on the train. I'm to return to Paris and explain myself.
But sir, what about the eye?
They want to inform the Egyptian authorities that there might be a burglary attempt.
Might?
Egyptian authorities? What if the jewel is stolen at sea?
I know. I never received it. Keep a close watch on the loading of the eye, Robert.
Aye, sir. It was a pleasure meeting you, Constable Zellner.
What is the constable's problem with me?
I think he's jealous. Scotland Yard assigned him to assist me, just as you were sent by the Swiss authorities.
With the distinction that he may go to Egypt.
Robert is to accompany me at all times. Your mission was restricted to Switzerland.
At this moment, I want to be sent back to Switzerland just as much as you want to be sent back to Paris.
I know, but I'm walking on thin ice, and I can't carry you too.
And the second eye is in that safe?
Yes, an emerald. It's been kept in a bank in Zurich since the start of the war. I personally took it out of the bank vault, and Professor Lucien certified that it was the real thing.
And while a fake jewel was sent by train...
The real one was brought here in an armored car.
How is it protected?
You can only open the safe if you have 3 special keys. Professor Lucien has one, and Baroness von Trebitz, who's paying for all this, has the second. The third was sent by air courier to Dr. Abbas Mokhtar, the director of the Egyptian Museum in Cairo.
So, not even you could possibly open the safe before it arrives in Egypt.
That's correct. We don't want to make it too easy for potential thieves.
Commendable. I hope you're aware of the fact that you're risking your career.
Indeed I am.
Why do you care so much about this case? Someone pretends to be the Raven, and you promptly risk your career?
What if he's not just pretending?
What do you mean by that?
It's his handwriting. And there's only one person who ever called me Nico. Have you ever considered the possibility that I shot the wrong man?
But what do you mean by that?
Let us assume just for a moment that the person I shot and who fell from the roof was not the Raven. Who would have cared enough to uncover the truth? The chief of police, the politicians? No. They wanted to revel in a successful manhunt, and it was the best thing that could have happened to the Raven. The search for him was over. He had no reason to fear me anymore. I had so many medals afterwards that he could hear them jingling kilometers away.
And now he's back? And you're the only one who can stop him? Does that sound probable to you?
The feathers, the letters. Nico. No one outside the police force knew that the Raven used to call me that in his letters.
Policemen gossip, and there are plenty of forgers. You can't seriously intend to stake your reputation on such weak evidence.
My reputation rests on something that I probably did not do. I have to find out who's behind all this.
Let's review. One of the two most valuable jewels in the world was stolen. Obviously, the second one will be next. And you suspect a legendary burglar who's been dead for 5 years.
Go on.
The second jewel is about to be put on board over there, in a safe that requires 3 keys. Our thief may already have the first key, the archaeologist's key, from the train. We don't know anything about the status of the second key, which was meant to be air freighted to Cairo.
We have to assume that he already has it.
Therefore, there's just one key left. The Baroness's.
Correct.
So, you'll need my eyes on board.
Look, you can keep your eyes open for me here on the wharf. I'd be most grateful. But when this ship sets sail, you will not, I repeat, not be on board.
But, Inspector...
We're dealing with a dangerous man, and I will pursue him regardless of the consequences. I won't let you get mixed up in this affair.
It's still my decision.
No, it's not. It's mine, and I've already made it. Good day, Constable Zellner.
I'll be marching up this gangway today, no matter what. Someone has to stop that damn bomber before he endangers more people. I don't want to run into Legrand before I have something new to report. Otherwise, he'll send me back to shore. Legrand has made up his mind. I can't change it with words, only with results. In my younger years, I might have considered abseiling from the crane down to the ship, but those days are long past. Amazing how much luggage there is for so few passengers, and I'd guess that 3/4 of it belongs to the women. I'll take an inconspicuous look up close.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't expecting anyone to be crawling around on the ground in front of my door.
Don't worry about it, miss. No harm done.
That's good to hear, Mr.
Zellner. Anton Jakob Zellner. May I ask your name?
Patricia Mayers.
Are you American?
I am. Could you help me, please?
Certainly. Are you on your way to Egypt?
Yes.
Are you on holiday?
My father works for a railroad company there.
And is rebuilding the country after the war. Wonderful.
Yes. Wonderful. One more.
You're lucky to have a father who takes you to so many interesting places.
Oh, yes. Lucky me.
Aren't you interested in Egypt? The pyramids, the history.
I would have been more interested in a father who doesn't travel 300 days a year.
I'm sure your father regrets that he can't always be with you.
No doubt. And I'm sure he always wanted the best for me. But that doesn't stop him from thinking only about himself far too often. Bring my luggage on board, please.
Excuse me?
It was a pleasure meeting you, Constable Zellner.
Impertinent. I don't want to run into Legrand before I have something new to report. Otherwise, he'll send me back to shore. I bought it last week, second-hand. I like it because it tells a story. I guess its previous owner replaced it with a newer one. The sea is quiet today. Ideal conditions for a cruise. Constable Oliver seems to be a little simplistic. But I don't think he's a bad policeman. The way he reacted in the tunnel and got the train moving. Hats off. Hello, Constable Olivier.
It's Oliver.
I just wanted to say that you did a good job in the tunnel.
Thanks.
How did you know how to get the train moving?
I've come from a family of miners, and my uncle is an engine driver down the mine.
I see. And you looked over his shoulder?
Yeah, best way to learn.
Did Legrand tell you about his theory? That it could be the real Raven?
Of course he did. We're partners.
But the modus operandi doesn't fit at all. The Raven wasn't a bomber.
We have the letter. And the feather. That's his symbol.
Anyone can put a feather in an envelope.
You would know.
What's that supposed to mean?
It was you.
What was me?
You put the envelope on the safe.
To blow myself up?
You threw the bomb away, and now you're the famous hero, right? And the Raven must have paid you pretty well.
That is ridiculous.
Is it? Only you and I and Legrand were in the freight car. One of us must have put the envelope on the safe. Legrand didn't. And I didn't. Think about it.
Legrand has made up his mind. I can't change it with words, only with results. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to see the sights in Venice. Paperwork served up by my Italian colleagues took up most of the day. Is the doctor afraid to board the ship? Hello, Dr. Gebhardt.
Ah, the hero of the hour.
The hero of the hour, but out of work soon.
Oh, you won't be a policeman anymore?
Yes, but on my old beat, which is almost as good as being out of work.
I understand.
Is your new job bothering you?
On the contrary, I wasn't sure whether I made the right decision until now. I'm from the Black Forest, you know. There are only mountains there. No ships. But now... the salty breeze, the atmosphere... I think I want to stay at sea forever.
The sea is one thing, the passengers are another.
It will be okay.
What do you know about the Baroness?
Nothing really.
Did you talk to her in the tunnel?
No. Her butler was looking after her, and I was busy with Miss Miller. As you can imagine, it was a shock for her to see her son rolling away on a burning train.
That's understandable.
So, we were all glad when we heard about your brave deed.
Have you already met the captain?
Mario Di Conti. Heard of him?
Should I have?
He is something of a star in Italy. A war hero. In the First World War, when he was a young man, he sank more enemy ships than anyone else. In the Second World War, well, he had some personal problems.
You mean like the ones you buy in bottles and pillboxes?
Yeah, you could say that. Anyway, sending him into combat was out of the question. They gave him a supply ship instead, and he became a hero again. His ship, part of a convoy from Palermo to North Africa, was the only one that made it, with an extra 100 seamen who he rescued from the other ships.
Impressive.
To say his health is rather shaky these days would be an understatement. I think most of my time on board will be spent dealing with his numerous ailments.
Well, there's nothing left for me to do but to wish you a good trip.
Oh, you are not coming with us?
Unfortunately, no. I'm to go back to Zurich.
What a pity.
Take care, Dr. Gebhardt.
Oh, I just remembered. We found these in the tunnel. Are they yours?
I'm afraid so.
Strophantine. Do you have heart problems? Maybe it's for the best that you're not coming along. Too much excitement could be bad for your health.
You mean if I don't do anything, I'll probably have a few more years to live?
That's right. Keep your chin up.
James! Where on earth are you?
Hello, Baroness.
Ah, Inspector.
Constable.
Poppycock. You won't be a constable much longer. When they find out how you rescued that little boy, they'll have to promote you to Inspector.
Very kind of you to say so, Baroness. I hope you survived the adventure in the tunnel unharmed.
Scandalous. You book a first-class cabin, and then you're walking on the rails. They wanted to bundle me off in a bus without my luggage.
The circumstances, madam.
I insisted on a limousine and didn't leave until all my luggage was recovered.
Did you know that the real Eye of the Sphinx wasn't even on the train?
I had no idea. Inspector Legrand seems to prefer to keep me in the dark, although I'm the one paying for all of this.
The inspector is ensuring the safety of the Eye.
Well, obviously. All the same, it was you who did the real work on the train.
I hope that the remainder of your trip to Cairo will be less stressful.
You aren't coming with us.
I'm afraid Inspector Legrand doesn't want my company.
Now, where's my damned butler? James, there you are. Is the inspector to carry my luggage onto the ship all by himself?
Well, actually... Baroness?
Baroness, can you hear me? She fainted.
No. No.
Baroness?
Again, harder.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Help me up.
Perhaps we should...
Now.
I'll get Dr. Gebhardt.
No, Doctor. Just a little moment of weakness. Your arm, James. Take me to the ship.
But of course, madam.
It was no moment of weakness. She saw something that shocked her, or someone. Very interesting, especially since she doesn't want to admit it. That's a fine automobile, but not even a stately sedan like this can handle all the Baroness's luggage. She was lucky that the second and third freight cars weren't buried in the tunnel. Most of her things made it unscathed. Who or what did she see? Neither of them seems to have noticed what happened down here. He'll have a tough time with her. How does one get aboard without a ticket? Not brilliant, but it's a possibility.
Oh, who do we have here? Signore...
This is Constable Anton Zellner.
Signore Zellner, I heard about your feats in the mountains. Welcome aboard the MS Lydia.
Thank you, Captain.
I didn't know you'd be taking part in the journey, but I'm glad to have you with us. I'll have a nice cabin prepared for you immediately.
The constable will not be joining us. He has other duties.
Oh, that's too bad. I would have loved to hear about his adventures from the man himself.
I'd like to accept your offer, but unfortunately, higher powers prevent it.
I am sorry to hear that. We are by no means full, and have plenty of room for one more passenger.
The constable just wants to have a quick look around and then leave before we set sail. When will that be?
In about 15 minutes.
There you have it, Constable.
May I ask how to get to the cargo hold?
Oh, signori, there are much nicer places on board.
But I'm interested in the cargo hold.
Why is that?
One of the trunks seems suspicious to me. Someone could be hidden in it.
You? You want to imply that the most brilliant and probably richest thief in all of Europe is stowing away in a trunk? That's not his style.
That's what makes it more likely that it's not him, but a copycat who's behind all this. And a copycat's style might include doing whatever it takes, like hiding in a trunk if they've lost the ticket.
Oh, come now.
Actually, it would be possible for a registered passenger to board the ship without a ticket.
What do you mean?
You can't buy a ticket for the Lydia at the counter. You book the trip in advance. We know the names of all the passengers. As long as a passenger is on the guest list, we let them board the ship. Doesn't matter if they have a ticket or not.
And did any of the passengers board without a ticket?
I couldn't say. We ask for a name and check it on the list. The tickets are no more than souvenirs for the passengers.
So much for your trunk theory.
Regardless of what you say, I would still like to examine the cargo hold.
All right, then, if you like. But we'll meet here again in 10 minutes. Captain De Conti, before we depart, I'd like to send 2 telegrams.
Certainly, Inspector. The cargo hold is over there. You can enter through a door on the forecastle. The horn will sound twice.
Understood, Captain.
Follow me to the bridge. You can send your telegrams from there.
My time is running out. If I don't find anything in the cargo hold, my cruise will be over before it even begins. Oh, no. Oh, what's this? Aha. That's the young woman's cabriolet. Apparently they absolutely had to take it to Egypt, at Daddy's expense, of course. If I go now, it's over for me. Legrand would be adamant that I leave the ship. I can't let it come to that. The door to this locker is ajar. Empty. The left 3 lockers are locked. Hello? Come on out. The game's up. I'm opening the trunk. Hello? The shards are... Phew. I startled too easily. For you! Ouch! Damned. Ah! It would be best if no one found out about this. There's some blood and hair stuck to the pipe. Hair I really can't afford to lose. I'll hold it on the blood-spattered end. After all, we already know who the victim is. Whoever locked the door is stronger than me. Whoever locked the door is stronger than me. I should be careful. The gunman may still be nearby.
What are you up to, Zellner?
I wanted to determine whether the gun had been fired recently, Inspector.
I mean, what are you doing on the ship?
I was jumped in the cargo hold.
Of course you were.
Here, look. Careful how you hold it. There could be fingerprints on the end.
Surely you don't expect me to believe you.
I was inspecting the trunk. I found it in the cargo hold, and it was clear that someone had hidden inside it to board the ship.
Some people are willing to go to great lengths to be a part of this journey.
Indeed. Whoever it was, they struck me on the head from behind with the pipe while I was looking for clues. Oh, and they shot at me as well.
Ridiculous. You wanted to come along. Orders be damned, and so you found a way to stay here. I should throw you overboard.
I would have dreamed up something less painful.
True. That doesn't look good.
See? And there's a bullet wedged in a wooden crate down there. I don't have a gun.
The doctor should have a look at it. Come with me.
Inspector Legrand, and Constable Zelna. So you have decided to join us on our journey after all.
So it would seem. We are searching for Dr. Gebhardt.
I'm just fine, Captain Conti.
The Conti.
I'm in control. I can manage. Tell James he absolutely must wake me at 9:45.
Certainly, madam.
Absolutely.
I shall see that he does.
And now, I shall return to my chambers. You'll be in the bar tonight at 10, Inspector.
If that's what you wish.
It will be spectacular. I promise.
The fresh sea air, and perhaps a glass of champagne to many. But I'm glad that you decided to join us on our journey to Cairo.
Not quite voluntarily.
So he says.
I was jumped from behind.
But no, that is...
Dr. Gebhardt should have a look at him, Captain De Conti.
Of course. Please, have a seat in the saloon, Constable Zelna. I'll summon the doctor. Ah, Doctor, there you are. Our brave Constable Zelna was attacked.
Struck on the head.
Oh. Sit down, please.
Now, please, tell me exactly what happened.
I think you've got a stowaway on board. I was jumped.
Intolerable. I'll have the crew search every nook and cranny of the ship. And of course, Mr. Zelna, you are cordially invited to travel as our special guest.
Good to know that at least one man doesn't want to throw me overboard.
Is it bad?
Yes, it hurts a lot.
I spoke with Dr. Gebhardt.
He suffered a violent blow to the back of the head. I cannot really say how bad it is.
But I can. It really hurts. Why didn't anyone come looking for me? Didn't anyone notice that I didn't come back from the cargo hold?
We did search for you, but we couldn't find you.
Who was supposed to search the cargo hold?
Constable Oliver. I'll have a talk with him about that later.
I should hope so.
How many fingers do you see?
Three fingers.
Okay.
Where are we, and what time is it? I must have been out for ages.
It's just after 8 p.m.
You just missed dinner. But we'll all meet here in the saloon at 10 o'clock to have a drink together. Greeting the passengers personally is a tradition I will not break, even on this unusual journey.
You're all right now, Constable. The bleeding has stopped, and the wound looks good. You may have a mild concussion. You just need a good night's sleep. And tomorrow, your only worries will be a headache and an impressive bump.
Thanks.
That's a good enough reason to celebrate. Enough about crooks and thieves. From now on, you can start to enjoy your free cruise.
Inspector!
What?
A dark shadow. Upper deck, just now.
Go, let's have a look.
I'll join you.
Me too.
No, you stay here.
Do you want to make this an argument?
Robert, go to the Baroness and don't let her out of your sight. Zellner, you're coming to the port side. Doctor, you go to starboard. I'll start at the forecastle and work my way back to the two of you. Understood?
But...
Baroness von Trebitz! Hello? Baroness von Trebitz? Open the door!
All right, Doc. I'm off.
Oh no, I'm not going on a manhunt all by myself. Are you okay? Maybe you had better take a rest, in case the blow was more severe.
I'm okay.
Zellner! Up here!
Come on. I think it came from up there.
Sure, you just wanted to get a breath of fresh air. Zellner, look who we have here.
Well, if that's not our shadow.
And our stowaway.
Spent any time hiding in a trunk recently?
Need do nothing.
He claims to be part of the crew. Just wanted to get some fresh air.
Of course.
The Baroness won't open the door, sir.
Understood. Take him to the detention cell, Robert. You were right. There was a stowaway.
Yes, but he can't be the Raven. He's too young.
Right, but that doesn't mean that the Raven isn't lurking here as well.
What was that?
A shot!
It came from one of the cabins.
Oh no! Baroness von Trebitz? Baroness! Open the door!
Step aside, please.
We have a murder on our hands, gentlemen. Hurry, Zellner. The murderer still has to be nearby. There's practically no one on deck. Anyone who's outside is a suspect. This time, we'll get him. Zellner, are you okay?
Yes. Come on. We have to.
Zellner! Zellner! Murder!
Ah, you awake? Sleep well, did you?
I like to sleep late when I take a cruise.
While everyone else is hard at work.
Have you arrested anyone yet?
You mean besides the Arab?
He could hardly have committed the murder. You must have been with him when it happened.
We heard the shot on the forecastle. I locked our friend in the detention cell in the cargo hold, and then went up to assist Legrand. You were already sleeping the sleep of the just.
Any other suspects?
No. Seconds after the alarm went off, the decks were swarming with frightened passengers.
Yes. A clever way to stay incognito during the commotion.
But we still have our primary suspect, the Raven.
You really think he's returned?
Well, I think that no one knows as much about the Raven as Legrand.
But still, it all seems so incredible. I didn't pass out last night because of the blow to my head, did I?
Seems unlikely. Inspector Legrand thinks you were drugged.
But how? The champagne.
Who gave you the glass of champagne?
Captain De Conti.
Interesting.
It should be possible to find traces of the tranquilizer in the glass.
That is exactly what Legrand is trying to do.
Without a laboratory?
His cabin is packed with all the latest forensic stuff. It's quite impressive what the inspector can do.
A competent man, no doubt, and surprisingly well prepared.
And diligent. He's been at it all night with his brushes and tinctures and glasses and everything, working like a man possessed. I wouldn't want to be the Raven now.
What's the state of play? How was the Baroness killed?
The Baroness was shot in the chest at close range. We'll know more once the doc finishes examining the body in the medical centre.
And no one saw anything suspicious?
No one saw a shadowy raven leaving the Baroness's cabin, if that's what you mean. A lot of people heard the gunshot. Inspector Legrand wants to question the passengers again this morning, once they've all calmed down, and he's had a chance to examine the evidence.
I suppose that you and Legrand inspected the crime scene and the surroundings.
Of course, and we already hit the jackpot. The murder weapon.
Really? Where did you find it?
On the gangway. The gangway for boarding the ship folds up and hooks onto the hull when it's not being used. The murderer probably wanted to throw the gun into the sea. He casually dropped it overboard.
But it landed on the gangway.
Bad luck.
But Legrand and I were on the side deck right after the shot. There was no one there.
Maybe the murderer threw the gun away later. We recovered it in the early hours.
I think I'll look for Inspector Legrand now.
Do what you think's best.
You won't get rid of me. I'm here to stay, Constable Oliver.
Be that as it may, Inspector Legrand ordered me to guard the cargo hold with our special guest. That's fine by me. Inspector Legrand may be able to get by without sleep for days on end, but not me. It's not easy playing with the big boys, Constable Zellner.
No, it certainly isn't. The cabin was sealed. I'm pretty sure the seal doesn't have any legal relevance here on the open sea, but I'm still dependent on Legrand letting me join his team. I better not blow it by breaking his seal without permission. I'd really like to lie in the sun and take a nap, but I don't have time for that at the moment. No, Jacob, business before pleasure. Did Edison have any idea what would become of his invention? Big, soft towels. I could reserve a deck chair with it. No, better not. How wonderful. Sunshine and a blue sky above the Mediterranean Sea. It would be a perfect cruise day, if not for the murder. an evacuation plan, and some tips from the doctor for avoiding seasickness, sunburn, and the like. And here, a schedule of activities. A drink with the captain, a shuffleboard competition on the forecastle. That's about it. A real barrel of fun. I'm not paying for this trip, and that's a fair price for my cabin. It's rather plain, shall we say. That is Legrand's cabin.
Come in. Ah, Zellner, are you ready?
Good morning, Inspector Legrand. My head is pounding, but I think I'm okay.
Chloral hydrate.
Hmm?
That's why you have a headache. I found traces of it in your champagne glass.
What have you found out so far?
The Baroness was shot in the chest at close range. We heard the shot. The murderer quickly fled the cabin and dropped the murder weapon over the railing later. A simple story so far.
But why was her cabin door locked?
Exactly. If the murderer wanted to make it seem like a suicide, he'd have shot her in the head and left the gun at the crime scene.
And if it was murder, why did he go to all the trouble of locking the door from inside? And how did he manage that anyway?
Especially since we arrived just a few seconds later and didn't see anyone near the cabin.
Something doesn't make sense here.
No, it doesn't, and it's driving me crazy.
Did you find the murder weapon?
On the gangway on the side of the ship. I suspect the murderer tried to drop it into the sea. He would have stood close to the railing to let it fall unseen.
And since he doesn't know the ship, he had bad luck and dropped it right onto the gangway.
Indeed. And do you find that probable?
Not a bit.
Neither do I.
What kind of a gun is it?
A pistol, a Luger 08.
Antique.
Manufactured 1,000,000 times during and after the First World War. Austrian model. The owner is David Kreutzer, the violinist. We found him tonight totally drunk on the bow of the ship. He confirmed that it's his gun, but he claims that it was stolen from him.
Fingerprints?
Nothing. But it's worth mentioning that the clip was missing 2 bullets.
And it's definitely the murder weapon.
The ballistic tests are incomplete. Actually, I've been waiting far too long for the bullet recovered from the corpse. Pay the good doctor a visit, Zellner, and see that he does his job.
Do you believe the violinist?
He'll be the first person I question. He claims he can't remember anything from the last few hours. Says he drank a bottle of schnapps.
He was on the train and he doesn't have an alibi. His drunkenness could be a smokescreen.
He fits the profile. He travels a lot, has access to high society. Could be interesting.
And this chloral hydrate?
Is a tranquilizer. Can be dissolved in alcohol. The effect begins in minutes and lasts for hours. Who gave you the glass of champagne?
I think it was the captain. But he could have got the glass from someone else.
Find out.
Understood. You think that the jewel thief is the murderer?
Our friend would have needed another key to open the safe and steal the second eye, the one the Baroness was carrying. At least, that's what we implied.
What do you mean?
The Baroness was famous for her forgetfulness. I convinced her to give me the third key. It seems safer for the eye.
The thief searches the Baroness's cabin looking for the third key.
She returns from the saloon earlier than expected.
Surprises him, and he can't allow her to identify him.
He imprisons her until the coast is clear, and then shoots her.
And thus, the thief becomes a murderer.
But still doesn't have all the keys.
Are you sure that there's no bomb inside this time?
Professor Lucien locked it in front of an audience, and it will be opened for the first time in Cairo.
Let's hope so.
It would take hours to crack it, and you'd need heavy machinery.
Or the keys.
Or the 3 keys, that's right.
Do you really think that the Raven is behind all this?
He wrote the letter that was on the safe in the train. Without the letter, we wouldn't have opened the safe and the bomb wouldn't have exploded.
But it doesn't seem like him, does it? The Raven was famous in part because he never hurt anyone, much less killed anyone, during a burglary.
It's his handwriting, and he called me Nico. No one else does that. I chased that man across Europe for years. It is him. It has to be him.
But the evidence...
Enough.
I'll be on my way. I want to find out who gave me the drugged champagne.
Good idea. And get the bullet from Dr. Gebhardt.
Of course. Inspector Legrand, are you okay? Maybe you should take a break.
I can sleep once I've caught the Raven. Goodbye, Constable.
Be seeing you. Legrand is risking not just his career, but his health as well on his hunt for the Raven. He's working like a demon. Maybe that's why he caught the Raven and no one else. Curious. One can easily toss a gun into the sea from almost anywhere on the ship without being noticed. And yet, the murderer chose the one spot where it's not actually possible. I suppose the life jackets are stowed there, close to the railing, close at hand in case of emergency. We were here yesterday when we heard the shot, and it was also here where Legrand caught our stowaway. The grate must be part of the ship's ventilation system. Nothing out of the ordinary. This isn't a panoramic deck for visitors. There are pipes, steel cables, chains up here. You can smell the smoke from the funnel. I have no idea how the ship works, and I really don't care, as long as it stays afloat. A boat like this would also make a good hideout for a stowaway. Were the tarpaulins arranged like that on purpose so that no one could put them back in order once they get in? You can tell at a glance that everything is ship-shape with this boat. Why is there an axe hanging here? I suppose it's for chopping through ropes in the event that the lifeboats can't be lowered. Or they use it to enforce who's allowed on the boat and who's not. There's dirt piled up in the corner. Down below where the passengers are, the ship is pretty clean. but the crew doesn't seem to care as much up here. The ship's bridge. 2 men. One of them navigating. I get the impression that the officers keep things running. It seems like the captain concentrates on the passengers and the bar. I better let the men do their work. If one of them had detected something yesterday, he'd already have informed Legrand or the captain. The stowaway surely didn't sleep well last night in the cargo hold, although his cell is probably more comfortable than my cabin, and more spacious. I have to talk to the young fellow right away. Even though he was already under arrest at the time of the shot, he may have noticed something before. And what about the other gunshot? Could the second missing bullet from the murder weapon be stuck down there in one of the wooden crates? If I want to get into the cargo hold, I'll have to get rid of the constable first. He won't let me talk to our young friend. It may not seem like it, but Constable Oliver is actually a very effective watchman.
What's going on?
The Raven just flew by.
What?
Or at least, he might as well have.
I wasn't asleep.
I understand. It was just a ruse. Any conclusions about a young stowaway?
He's a bit suspicious. Foreign and whatnot.
I see. Did he act suspiciously in any way?
No. The shot surprised him as much as it did me. Looked in on him earlier. Still seems to be asleep.
Covered with a blanket from head to toe?
Aha. He's still in there. I poked him.
May I go downstairs and have a couple of words with our guest?
No, you may not.
Come again?
Inspector Legrand wants to conduct all the interrogations himself.
I'm sure he'll understand if I form my own conclusions.
He ordered me to guard the door, and that's just what I'm going to do.
How about a bit of individual initiative?
How about letting a man do his job? Or do you think you'd be better at it?
What do you think? What happened here last night?
The Raven broke into the Baroness's cabin, she surprised him, and he shot her.
What was he looking for in her cabin?
She was a rich woman.
He didn't want to steal her purse. He wanted the third key.
So Legrand also told you about that?
Why did he lock the door?
Why not?
From inside? An impressive trick.
I'm not saying I know how he did it. I'm just saying that it was him.
Why didn't he leave a raven feather?
Are you serious? We'd have suspected him straight away.
But fortunately, we still did. Let's assume that the old Raven really has returned and that he really is responsible for all this. Who is he? Or she?
Oh, could be anyone. No one's ever seen the Raven.
He could also be paying someone else to do his dirty work.
Well, of course. It's a fact that he used to work with partners. They even arrested some of his accomplices.
But no one could ever identify the Raven himself. Some claims that they didn't even know that they were working for him. Fascinating. He could have hired someone with financial difficulties to set off the alarm at a certain time without that person knowing why they were doing it.
The man Legrand shot back then, he was a famous safecracker. He could just as well have been a henchman.
Or the real Raven. There's probably no better cover for a big thief than acting like a small one. I don't want to keep you from your duties any longer.
Good idea.
He won't let me talk to our young friend. He respects Legrand far too much to disobey his orders. If I want to get into the cargo hold, I'll have to get rid of the constable first. He won't let me talk to our young friend. He respects Legrand. If I want... He won't let me talk to her. He respects if I want. Constable Oliver brought something to drink. You can tell it's not the first time he's had to guard something. I wonder if this game is an advanced version of bocce. Maybe the inventor realized that it's difficult to play ball games on a boat and came up with an alternative. Salty sea air in my old lungs, wind in my thinning hair. If I hadn't become a policeman, I could have been a sailor. The gangway is hard to miss. Why did the murderer drop the gun on the gangway? They must have noticed their mistake, even if their back was to the sea. So, why didn't they take the gun and throw it a few meters farther into the sea?
Come in.
Hello, Dr. Gebhardt.
And there's the next one.
Excuse me?
You want something else from me, don't you?
I'm afraid I do.
What a first day at work. Well?
What's the result of your examination of the victim?
She's dead.
I didn't make you work all night long, Dr. Gebhardt.
She was shot. Point-blank shot. Probably with a pistol. It seems like she was lying in bed. The shot struck her hard. She died immediately.
One shot?
More were unnecessary. And we only heard one shot, no?
And there's just one entrance wound.
Just one.
I am told that I was drugged.
That's how it seems.
What can you tell me about it?
Me? Why should that be my business?
Haven't you analyzed the glass?
No, I haven't. The inspector said he's the better chemist. I let him do it. That way I could at least concentrate on the body.
Do you think the Baroness might have been drugged? She was very tired and unsteady when Legrand and I saw her.
Yeah, I heard about that. I must have just missed her in the saloon. And without having seen her myself, it is hard to make a diagnosis.
Of course. Can you say something about her general health?
She was quite overweight, and the butler said that she suffered from diabetes. Despite that, she hadn't visited a doctor for several years.
Doesn't sound good.
Happens more frequently than you might suppose. Some people are scared of doctors and pay with an early death. It is possible that the Baroness wouldn't have lived much longer anyway.
Do you know whose glass I drank from?
What do you mean?
Captain de Conti handed me a glass of champagne. But where did he get it?
I don't know. Did you ask him?
I'm just asking because you were also in the saloon when the champagne was served.
Yes, but I only entered the saloon a few seconds before you did. I didn't manage to get a drink myself.
Which, in retrospect, is lucky.
Ah, you're right about that.
Have you already removed the bullet?
Did Legrand send you? What is that Frenchman's problem? I already told you. I will get in touch as soon as I have it. That is also what I told the constable, who he kept sending all night long, once I finally got rid of Legrand himself.
Did he look over your shoulder?
He probably wanted to take the scalpel from my hand and hack away himself. But this is my surgery, and I will not let amateurs interfere with my work.
That's understandable. How much longer will it take?
Ugh. I have just finished. Send my regards to His Majesty.
Thanks. I think that's it for now.
No. That is it for now, then, and later. I'm going to lie down for a few hours. Can you tell that to your boss?
But... Could I at least have the key?
Absolutely not.
But if we have to examine the victim again...
Then the esteemed inspector knows where to find me. In my cabin. In bed. Good night, Constable Zellner.
Come in. Constable?
About the bullet. Here it is.
Excellent. Give it to me. As I suspected, a 7.65 Parabellum Luger.
Don't you want to examine it in more detail?
When I have time. For now, though, we can assume that we have the murder weapon. There can't be too many antique Luger 08 pistols on board.
May I take a look at the Baroness's cabin?
We already searched it thoroughly.
Sure. But what about now, by daylight?
Yes, fine, it can't hurt. Here, take this with you.
Thanks. I'll let you know if I find anything important.
But only then, please. I'm very busy.
Of course. About the tranquilizer.
Do you know how you wound up with the glass?
Not yet.
Then you should stop wasting my time and get back to work.
About the tranquilizer.
Do you know how you wound up?
Not yet.
Then you should stop.
I'll be in touch if I uncover more clues.
Very well.
These little sachets contain the evidence we've collected. At least the evidence that fits in little sachets. This is the first murder scene I've ever set foot in. The door frame was damaged when Dr. Gebhardt kicked it in. The real question is, why was the door locked in the first place? The most unportable portmanteau I've ever seen. It must be one of the alarms. It was tripped at some point. The seal is broken. But there's no way of telling whether it happened yesterday or 5 years ago. A portable bar is more like it. Must be hard work transporting this big, heavy thing halfway around the globe. And the Baroness was lucky that the other freight cars were only lightly damaged by the explosion. The notepad has the ship's emblem on it. I suppose all the first-class cabins have them. It says, Inspector, be in the saloon at 10 p.m. There is a murderer on board and I will expose him. B. The Baroness seems to have known the murderer, and that means that the Raven can't be the murderer. He never killed anybody. Legrand probably never got the message, otherwise he'd have said something. Sunflowers. By Van Gogh, I presume. He liked to paint that sort of thing. Can't be an original. They cost thousands of francs. The mannequin surely came with the cabin. A mannequin for the Baroness's clothes would have a more generous figure. The portholes face the side deck. If someone climbed out of the cabin through a porthole, Legrand and I would have seen them. Apparently, the Baroness didn't have time to unpack her bags. Or rather, didn't have time to tell her butler to unpack them for her. A big, ugly, and impractical vase. If it had a wider opening, one could at least use it as an umbrella stand. A tape recorder. Must go with the built-in speakers. Probably part of the cabin's furnishings. The tape recorder is older than the hills, but it was once very expensive. Top of the range. And it doesn't come cheap.